Hello, welcome everyone to Module 1 of Working Effectively with Your Child's School. This module is going to focus on why it is important to have a vision for inclusion. These modules have been developed as a project of the Community Resource Unit through our Families for Inclusive Education project funded by the Queensland Department of Education. CREW exists to support the development of leadership and authentic change, which enhances the possibilities for people with disability to belong to and participate in community life. And we see inclusion in school as providing a really strong foundation for a good, inclusive life in community. So this module, as I mentioned, is going to focus on why it's important to have a vision for inclusive education. In Module 2, we're going to drill down into what inclusive education looks like and feels like. And we're also in other modules going to cover the features of an inclusive classroom, how to build a collaborative relationship with the school, advocacy and communication skills, where to go to if you're having problems, how to build your skills, and also goal setting for both successful inclusion and for the positive relationships that you want to build with your child's school. One of the things that we come back to at CREW is that it's very important for families to do the work of building a vision for their son or daughter for the whole of their life, but also for their school years. And now we're going to listen to a family story, the Pate family, and Bobby and his parents articulating what inclusion has meant for them and the place that it has played in Bobby's life.
My name is Bobby Pate. I am from Postgraduate College at Indooroopilly. I like painting. I like to hang out with my friends.
Bobby brings an incredible amount of energy wherever he goes, always looking on the positive side of life. He loves to be involved in everything and connecting with people. Often we'll arrange different dinners without me knowing that people are arriving for dinner. Some people might be a bit confronted about how to include him, but when it is done, the light up that he gets in his eye from, achieving whatever it is, it's incredible. I think that that's really what we want for him, to be out there giving it all a go.
But it's fun. I compete in swimming. I like to win and win the race. I sometimes get a medal after swimming ends. I love going to school. I like English, religion and hospitality.
Inclusion starts, in the school, and, that's where the changes, for society will come from.
I think one of the great things about Bobby's inclusion at school is the relationships between his peers in terms of his social development, but also the educational benefits and the learning benefits for those around him.
What inclusion brings to a child's life with a disability is just incredible, but what it brings to everybody around them as well is also quite beautiful.
So what you would have heard in that story is all of the benefits that Bobby experienced through his inclusive education, his sense of achievement, the way he had ordinary opportunities, and also the benefits for other students of Bobby's inclusion, his sense of self and his own worth, and the opportunity it gave him to just give everything a go. So one of the things we want to suggest is that Bobby's inclusion didn't just happen. It relied on Tracy and Stephen as his family articulating a vision that enabled them to pursue that inclusive education with direction. So what is a vision? At its most simple, it's simply our hopes and dreams of an imagined future. And I often say that really what happens when you have a child with a disability is a lot of those early dreams get knocked out of you by the bad news of diagnosis. So really it's a process of reclaiming the ordinary dreams that all parents have for their kids. A good vision is, I guess, something that you can see very clearly in your mind's eye, a positive and ambitious imagined future. And once you have a strong vision, once you're able to kind of articulate it out loudly, and it makes sense to you, you don't have to explain it to yourself, it can work as a compass, keeping us on track. So lots of parents say it becomes a really important decision-making tool. So when options are offered up, you're able to think, if I take that path, is that going to lead us closer or further away from where we want to be in the long term? A positive vision keeps us focused on high expectations, and it enables us to act out of hope and not fear. And again, low expectations and fear are something that are often instilled in us when we enter the disability world, and it's really important that we do the work of overcoming those things which will hamper us from getting where we want to be. For this topic, working effectively with your child's school, we also believe that having a positive vision can be really effective in enabling us to have different conversations with the school. So if you're able to talk about your long-term hopes for your child and why you want them to be included, it can be something that we can enlist others to help us with that. So sometimes our conversation at school can be very problem focused, and when you introduce focus on vision, it can be something that's motivating and uplifting rather than a problem focused conversation. So I want to introduce you to my son Sean. This is the obligatory first day of school photos and the vision that we developed for him in the early years of his school inclusion. Just to give you an idea of what we mean when we're talking about vision. So we said we want Sean to be a valued and contributing member of the school community and for him to experience the full life of the school. We want him to be included and able to fully participate in the classroom, playground, and in all school events. We want him to be welcomed and appreciated for his unique gifts and contributions, challenged to learn, and to keep developing to his full potential. The reason it was important to articulate that is because sometimes people see inclusion differently. So maybe there was a risk that people would think that we just wanted him socially included, if you like, but really that we weren't focused on his academic learning. So we were, found it important to include that. We wanted to get people excited about him being a full and contributing member of the school community, seen for his gifts and contributions, rather than seen as the kid who was different or who was always the recipient of help and support. So we really wanted to turn some of those old ideas on their head. So if you're trying to develop a vision for your child, perhaps reading some other vision statements could be helpful, and there's some tips on our website, on the Families for Inclusive Education website, that will help you to take that further. A really positive thing that you might want to do to open up those new conversations is to prepare a one-page profile or document on your child. So the first thing would be to try and write down your vision and to make it kind of aspirational. So a vision is not something about, that you want your child to develop a good pencil grip. You're really talking about something that is something that really a positive idea that people can get behind. Then I guess you want to do the work of identifying your child's strengths and gifts. These are things that are very easily overlooked because, often when a student has a disability, they come with a lot of reports which are very negative or deficit focused. So identifying strengths is something to help the school see your child in a fuller way. Listing their interests can be really helpful because a really on-board teacher will be able to pick up on those interests as ways to motivate the child in their learning, or perhaps identify commonalities with other students in that classroom. You want to list who is important to them, giving them an insight into who they are outside of school. You want to communicate your priorities. And this is important because perhaps the teacher may have had a previous student with a disability and the parent has had quite different priorities from what's important to you. So again, making that explicit can really open up very helpful conversations rather than assuming people are on the same page. And then communicating how to bring out the best and also what doesn't work for your child. So really sharing your knowledge of your child from the years of knowing them with the classroom teacher. Let's have a little bit of a look at an example of that. So here is the beautiful Ella and her family's vision statement. We believe Ella will live a life of purpose filled with rich experiences. But I want to draw your attention particularly to the bits where Ella's parents have talked about what doesn't work and what works for me. So I think it's been very helpful, some insights there to share with the school. So what doesn't work for Ella is rushing her or raising your voice, using too many words to explain things, or asking questions with no wait time. So they're things that in some ways might be common sense for a child with, to know about a child with an intellectual impairment. But they're also kind of common traps that people fall into. I know even as a parent, I often use too many words to explain things. So sharing that very simply can help to establish Ella's inclusion in a really positive way. So that's a very brief introduction to the idea of having a vision and sharing it with the school. But I just want to, say I didn't know when I was writing that vision statement back with Sean's year one photo, what would inclusion look like when he was in year 12. But I did know that we were focused on that full participation, on him being valued and contributing and taking the ordinary paths. And so just to say, your vision may become clearer over time, but it's really helpful to start articulating it as early as possible. But even if your child has kind of moved a number of years through school, it can still be a really valuable thing to do to write down your vision for your son or daughter. In the end, I guess having that vision certainly helped us to stay on that inclusive path and to take up the opportunities for Sean to build strong relationships and to have a sense of himself as a valuable and precious individual. And he's been very lucky, not only because we had that vision, but also because we were able to find good allies along the way. That meant he has a good, rich life now, living in his own home, working in open employment, and with strong friendships, as it says here, from grade 1. So that's Module 1 on a vision for inclusion, and I hope that as you work through the other modules in this series, that you will stay focused on the importance of vision in leading all of the conversations that you have at your child's school. Thank you.